evening. This September 12th, 2023 meeting of the Marion County School Board is now called to order at 5:30 p.m. Mirroring and modeling the way our students begin each day, I ask that we observe a moment of silence at this time. Please join me. Thank you. I'll now ask Vice Chair Nancy Thrower to please read our school board motto. Good evening.
Good evening, Chair. We are the Marion County School District Leadership Team. When we come together to work, we are efficient, effective, and productive. Our three most important characteristics are dedicated, transparent, and individually responsible. To work well together, we must demonstrate respect, confront reality, and be accountable. We will always put students first, and we will leave a legacy of success.
Thank you. For the courtesy of those listening to the meeting, I'm requesting everyone in the audience to please remove their hats and turn off their electronic devices or put them on silent. Later in the meeting, up to 30 minutes will be provided for individuals to address the board on matters concerning the operation of the Marion County school system or the school board only. Presentations to the board are limited to 5 minutes and are televised. If you wish to address the board regarding a regular agenda item or on matters on which the board customarily takes action, you must first complete a peach-colored form located in the lobby. If you wish to address the board regarding a public hearing or a student discipline matter, please complete a lime green colored form. These forms must be fully completed and received by the board clerk no later than 5:40 p.m. The procedures applicable for each are on a separate sheet. Board clerk, please call the roll.
Dr. Allison Campbell, District 1.
Here.
Miss Lori Conrad, District 2. Mr. Eric Cummings, District 3. Here. Miss Nancy Thrower, District 4.
Here.
Dr. Sarah James, District 5.
Here.
Dr. Diane Gollett, Superintendent.
Here.
Mr. Jeremy Powers, School Board Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Davis, and we also will make note that we have Genesis and Caitlin with us again. We will ensure that their names are added into that roll call the next time we do it. Good evening, Dr. Gollett. I would believe that you probably have someone to introduce for the Inspirational Pledge this evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. I certainly do. It's my pleasure to introduce Lindsay Barber, our program specialist for secondary instruction, curriculum, and digital learning. And she has some very special guests here with us tonight in recognition of Constitution Week and American Founders Month. So, Ms. Barber, thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, superintendent. Florida statute designates the month of September annually as American Founders Month, and schools are encouraged to coordinate instruction at all grade levels related to our nation's founding fathers and mothers. And September is really a time to reassert the importance of our nation's dedication to promoting the ideals in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. So throughout the month, schools are going to focus on learning experiences around Heroes Day, also known as Patriots Day, which was commemorated yesterday on the anniversary of September 11th, Constitution Day, September 17th, and celebrate Freedom Week, which is the last full week in September. For tonight's inspiration and pledge, I'm proud to introduce two patriotic ladies from the Ocala chapter, National Society Daughters of the American Revolution. The Ocala chapter DAR is a group of women whose volunteerism is really making a significant difference in our community. The DAR works to preserve America's history, secure our future through education for children, protect the ideals of the Constitution, and recognize our local veterans. I would like to introduce Ms. Renee Coventry, the Ocala chapter regent, who's going to provide the inspirational words tonight, and Ms. Elizabeth Coleman, the Constitution Week local and state chair, who will then lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. Constitution Day is observed each year on September 17th to commemorate the signing of the Constitution on September 17th, 1787. Originally called Citizenship Day, it was enacted by Congress in 1955 and signed into law by President Dwight D. Eisenhower, personal friend of then President General Gertrude S. Caraway of the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution. Though the sons had tried for many years to get such legislation passed, it was the daughters who saw this dream realized. Thomas Jefferson famously stated, "It is every American's right and obligation to read and interpret the Constitution for himself." The Ocala chapter daughters recognize that the ability to do so begins in the classroom with outstanding social studies teachers such as are represented here this evening. And because of our belief in historic preservation, education, and patriotism, we are proud to contribute Constitution kits to Greenway Elementary's fifth grade students this year. In addition, as this Sunday kicks off Constitution Week, we encourage each and every faculty member and student to take time to listen for the bells that will be ringing across the nation at 4 p.m., commemorating the signing of this magnificent document 236 years ago. If you would like to join us for Bells Across America, we have events at First Presbyterian and the Congregational Church at 4 p.m. We would also like the students and faculty to be aware of the exhibits they can find at both the Ocala Courthouse and the headquarters of Marion County Library in honor of Constitution Week. We are honored to be here, proudly supporting the teachers and students of Marion County and celebrating the 68th anniversary of Constitution Week in America.
Would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, remembering that your right hand belongs over your heart, your left hand is at your side, totally empty. Let's pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, ladies. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. We're so grateful for all that you do and all of the information that you just shared.
And Madam Chair, we have another recognition, if I can proceed. Ms. Barber also has some other very special guests and outstanding Teachers of the Year representing social studies for our district. Thank you.
Thank you. As most of you know, social studies is really one of my first loves, even though I spend many hours in other content areas. Social studies is what I taught when I was in the classroom, and social studies and literacy always will hold a very special place in my heart. And so it's my pleasure to introduce the 23-24 Social Studies Teachers of the Year. The Social Studies Teachers of the Year program is organized by the Florida Council for the Social Studies to bring attention and recognition to the dedicated social studies teachers across the state of Florida. The nomination process began in May, and administrators, colleagues, really anyone in the community, non-school employees like parents and students, they're all encouraged to nominate teachers. And so we would also like to thank the numerous community members from various groups across Ocala and Marion County who looked at our nominations over the summer and selected tonight's recipients. So first I want to introduce Miss Marguerite Jones of Anthony Elementary School, who was nominated by her principal, Miss Street. Go ahead and take a place right up there and wait for us. Yes. Principal Street wrote about the great rapport Ms. Jones shows to her peers, parents, and students, and really the community at large. She ensures that being an upstanding citizen is part of her everyday interactions with the stakeholders and believes that kindness matters. In addition, Ms. Jones felt it was her civic duty to come back to the classroom and the teaching profession, especially since there's really such a shortage right now of qualified instructors. So they're happy to have her at Anthony Elementary School. One of the great things that she did last year was reach out to the Marion County Judicial Center, and she arranged for Judge Leanne Mackey Barnes to speak to her fifth grade students about citizenship, the Constitution, and perseverance. Our middle school Teacher of the Year is Ms. Pamela Ernest of Howard Middle School, who was also nominated by her principal. Ms. Parker noted that as a veteran, her love of social studies easily translates into a love of country, which she shares for her students. She provides opportunities for students to participate in the Fraternal Order of Eagles God, Flag, and Country essay contest, which several of her students have won. And then she works in collaboration with a media specialist and IB coordinator to prepare students for the Florida History Day Fair. In the past 5 years, 2 of her students have advanced to the National History Day competition in Maryland, and others have received numerous state awards. And Ms. Parker says that Ms. Ernest is such a fan of the students and their capabilities, she even coaches the Math Counts team, who consistently wins the district competition, and last year earned their highest placement ever in the state competition. So she is multifaceted in several content areas, not just social studies. Our high school recipient is Mr. Jesse Corbett of North Marion High School. You're welcome. Jesse was nominated by his colleague, Mr. Sumner, who teaches in the same department as he, and last year was Mr. Corbett's first year as a social studies teacher at North Marion High School because previously he taught English language arts at North Marion High School. So you can see that his background in ELA helps actively engage his students in historical inquiry and reading primary sources and content area reading skills as he prepares them for the U.S. History State Assessment. He also has led the school's technology professional learning community to assist fellow teachers in building their tech skills, and positive relationships with students is extremely important to him. So you'll always find him watching his students at after-school sporting events and talking with them about their athletics or their activities and chaperoning field trips with them. So these 3 teachers will be further recognized and represent Marion County Public Schools at the Florida Council for the Social Studies State Conference on October 14th, where they will hold an award ceremony at the Florida Hotel and Conference Center in Orlando. And as someone who has gone to be with the teachers as they go to that conference for the past several years, I just want to say that even though all counties in Florida, all districts have the opportunity to send teachers and celebrate their social studies teachers, I would say on average less than half the counties in Florida participate. And so I really want to thank our leadership here in Marion County for always finding a way to recognize our teachers, and especially the wonderful job that social studies teachers do, because it's not something that all districts do, and that is one of the reasons I'm very proud of the things that we do here in Marion County Public Schools. So if you would all give them a round of applause.
Or let's go take pictures with these.
And then I think we're going to do some photos with the recipients and maybe their principals who are here tonight supporting them. Sure.
Look, I remember to take off my name. Here we go. And 1, 2, 3, couple more. And smile real big. Okay. Thank you.
And today, I think we just approved the check for the history fair, so we're starting that
It's
process.
always a fun way to start our meetings. We talk about always putting students first, and those are wonderful examples of teachers who are doing that every day, helping every student that they interact with every day succeed. And so thank you so much for all that you're doing in your schools, in your school communities, because it's not just what you're doing in your classroom, it's what you're also doing and impacting your school community. So thank you so much to these amazing teachers. We really appreciate you. Okay, moving back into our agenda. Let's see, Dr. Gullett, I believe you have some folks on your team who will help us with this evening's recognitions. Maybe?
I think we covered all the.
Covered all of that.
Ready for donations.
We're on to
Okay, we had a
donations.
lot of great recognitions.
It was a lot of recognitions. I just wanted to make sure we didn't have any more, but we sometimes do. So we would also like to take a moment to recognize individuals and organizations who've provided sizable contributions and donations to the school district. $2,500 to Mission Bus Brigade from Marion County Tax Collector's Office Employee Fund to be used for purchasing school supplies for homeless and needy students. $2,000 to Harborview Elementary from Office Max Office Depot Lady Lake to be used to purchase office supplies for staff and teachers to benefit the work area of both to help meet the needs of students, and $1,000 to Harborview Elementary from Walmart Summerfield to be used for positive behavior intervention supports, also known as PBIS, and to supply items for purchase with incentive money at the Dolphin Depot store. So the total value of those donations was $5,500. Thank you so much to these valuable partners in our community who help ensure that every student is succeeding, and we really appreciate every donation. They truly make a difference. Dr. Gullett, would you like to make a recommendation on this evening's agenda?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the board, I recommend approval of the agenda for the September 12th, 2023 school board meeting with the materials in the board packet, those materials distributed to board members at the meeting, and the audio recording included as part of the official record of the meeting, with the exception of the following items: D21.1, D21.2, D21.3, and let's see, D21.4, D21.5, D21.6, and D21.7 that have been placed under discussion. Item C 20.2 has been withdrawn completely from the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. May I have a motion on the superintendent's recommendation?
So moved.
Motion by Reverend Cummings.
Second.
Second by Dr. James. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion passes 4-0. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the August 8th, 2023 school board meeting?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Vice Chair Thrower.
Second.
Second by Reverend Cummings. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion passes 4-0. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the August 9th, 2023 special administrative briefing and work session?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Dr. James.
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Thrower. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion passes 4-0. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for the August 17th, 2023 administrative briefing and work session?
Move.
Motion by Reverend Cummings.
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Thrower. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion passes 4-0. Mr. Davis, would you please provide for us the proof of publication for this evening's meeting?
The notice for the September 12th, 2023 board meeting ran in the Ocala Gazette on July 28th, 2023. The proof of publication has been attached in board docs under proof of publication.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. I do believe that was on August 28th. I know the script said July, but I believe that this one ran in August. I was going to see if I could verify that while I was looking in the agenda quickly, just so we can make sure we have the accurate information. Yes, I believe that's when it ran. So thank you so much. Appreciate that for proof of publication. So I'll now ask the school board's attorney to explain the rules governing persons who wish to address the school board this evening. Good evening, Attorney Powers.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair Campbell. In compliance with Section 286.0114 of Florida statutes, the school board has adopted uniform procedures for public speakers who wish to speak at this evening's meeting, either regarding one of today's agenda items or a matter related to the operations of the school district. These procedures will ensure the public has a reasonable opportunity to be heard on school board and school district matters. A written summary of these procedures is available from the table in the lobby. Public speaker forms are also located on the same table. The speakers will be called prior to the business portion of the school board's meeting in the order of receipt by the school board clerk. And before you begin speaking, please state your full name for the record and spell your last name. Each speaker will have 5 minutes of time. However, if there are more than 5 persons who wish to speak, the board may seek consensus to limit each speaker's time to 3 minutes. When the speaker has 1 minute remaining, the speaker will receive a visual notice on screen to complete his or her comments. Speakers may not yield their time to other people. Speakers and meeting attendees are expected to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. Therefore, verbal attacks and profanity are strictly prohibited. Pursuant to procedures for public comments, item 6, speakers are not to identify specific individuals other than themselves or their child unless the statement is provided 24 hours in advance. The board is here to listen to your comments only. You may be directed to an administrative staff member following the conclusion of your comments for further assistance to address your concerns. If there are matters dealing with student discipline, including expulsions, they will be scheduled at the conclusion of the televised portion of this meeting. Parents may address the board regarding a discipline matter at that time. To ensure student privacy, only a parent or guardian may use a student's first or last name. Identifying references to or identification of other students and/or their families are also strictly prohibited. A public speaker's speech does not reflect the endorsement, sponsorship, position, or expression of the school district. Thank you for your attention to the board's requirements. Chair, that concludes my explanatory remarks.
Thank you, Attorney Powers. Mr. Davis, do we have any speakers this evening?
We have one, Jamie Niswonger.
Hello, my name is Jamie Niswonger. My last name is Niswonger. Okay, so I want to say good morning to the school board members, superintendent, attorney, and of course the 2 student school board members. Today I'm here speaking tonight. I want to bring your attention to a challenging situation regarding my child's educational experience that requires your assistance. Last year, my child faced difficulties in their educational environment, and I previously sought help from the school board. Following my previous interaction, several senior staff members reached out, and we came up with a plan. It was implemented, and it brought hope for progress. Promises were made to place my child with the most qualified teacher and providing all necessary educational services due to the academic lag. Unfortunately, we have encountered ongoing issues since the start of this school year. Transportation consistently arrives late, ultimately results in absent notifications being sent out because they don't update attendance until later in the day after the initial absence calls have been made. The transportation department has appeared before this board multiple times, assuring minimal driver shortages and pledging resolution within the first few weeks of school. However, my child's bus is consistently late, with absent notifications not being sent out. When I inquire about the status of the bus, I am giving an evasive response until eventually an all-call is made. Regrettably, all these all-calls are often inaccurate. For example, we received one communication stating a delay of 20 to 25 minutes. Yet the bus was an hour and 1 minute late. I am concerned about the lack of accountability in transportation as it excessively deprives students in our district of valuable educational time. Furthermore, this year, despite being several grade levels behind for our student, we have not received the promise and necessary support. We recently received an email regarding tutoring, stating that only invited students would be allowed to attend and explicitly requesting parents not inquire about their child's eligibility. As a parent, my understanding my child and the need for additional support, I find this disheartening and concerning. I contacted the principal of my child's school and was told we target, quote unquote, we target these students on direction from the district based on which students have the greatest impact on our school grades and the number of teachers who want to tutor in the afternoon, end quote. I responded looking for clarification, and I was again reiterated, quote unquote, I am sorry. We are directed to target our resources to students who will have the greatest impact on our school grade. I know it does seem backwards, end quote. I know you generally don't answer questions in a forum like this, but is that really the position of the District of Marion County Public Schools, to put a greater emphasis on school grades over individual students' educational needs? So I am requesting your urgent attention to this matter so my child and other students in similar situations can receive the educational support they require and were promised. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I also received communication from the school principal today, and I was inquiring about the beginning of the year testing that they do, and you normally get a parent copy of the test report home. And she told me to look in Skyward. So I did. I looked in Skyward, and it's there. It says the test was taken on this date, and then it says a score like 204, and then a ranking. As an individual parent, I don't have a score sheet to know what 204 means. Parents need the parent copy. That's the reason there's a parent copy made. We don't know what 204 and then a ranking number means. To me, I don't know. I mean, that sounds great, but we all know some of these rankings go 400, 500, 600, you know. So we need the parent copies of test reports sent home so parents can actively know where their child is placing. And after dealing with problems for the majority of the second half of last year, I don't know that my child will remain in Marion County Public Schools. I have 2 children, one who's doing great and she'll stay where she's at. I have another child who I am needing to make a decision if he will remain in Marion County Public Schools or if I need to find a different educational resource so that he has an opportunity. I don't need Marion County Public Schools to be a babysitter. I can find a babysitter if that's what I want. I want him in an educational environment where he's set up to succeed, where he has an opportunity. And to sit there and have parents believing that their child has to fail a grade in order for the school district to be required to provide assistance, because that's what I've been told, is that when my child fails 3rd grade, then you're required to provide them with certain assistance by the state.
Your time is expired.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Niswonger. Dr. Gullett?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. If we could get the school name, one of the, Ms. Keinert is indicating she's there. I would also ask, is it Ms. Niswonger? Thank you. Ms. Dobbins is here also, who oversees transportation. I'm going to ask her to speak with you as well. And I want to thank you for coming. Board, I would like for you to hear this as well. It is my expectation as a superintendent that we never prioritize certain students over others. Not aware if that's ever been shared from anyone in my team, and it is not my expectation that's the way we do business. We are about every student succeeding. So I just want to make sure that's very clear. Thank you for coming, and we're here to help you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Gullett. May I have a motion to approve consent agenda items C10.1 through C20.4 with the exception of items D21.1, D21.2, D21.3, D21.4, D21.5, D21.6, and D21.7 that have been placed under discussion, and item C20.2 that has been withdrawn from the agenda completely.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Dr. James,
Second.
second by Reverend Cummings. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion passes 4-0. May I have a motion to approve the 2023-2024 Board of Directors for the Public Education Foundation of Marion County?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Vice Chair Thrower,
Second.
second by Reverend Cummings. Board, this is in discussion because even though it is a formality for me to be on the Board of Directors, my name is listed in this, and so I am not comfortable in voting on this item. So I'm actually going to pass the gavel and let you take it from there for this particular vote.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second already on the floor.
Question. Call the vote.
Yes, just.
Is there any further discussion, board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you so much. So item D21.2, may I have a motion to approve grant application Title II, Part A, Supporting Effective Instruction 2023-2024?
Motion to approve?
Motion by Vice Chair Thrower,
Second.
second by Dr. James. Dr. Gullett, do you have additional information to share on this item?
I do, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. So this is a large grant application, Title II. We've talked about the different federal funds. This is for professional leadership and learning. Ms. Hughes is going to come forward and share some additional information regarding this. Please note that some of this money does go to our private schools. We have, I think, 11 on this item that will benefit from this amount. There are some additional notes that were added, some additional schools, but Ms. Hughes will come forward and share some additional perspective to this item. Thank you.
Good evening, Ms. Hughes.
Good evening. So just like Dr. Gullett just shared, yes, we do our Title II grant to make sure that we are reaching out to our school district to provide professional learning, recruitment and retention, and prioritize effective teachers for high-need students. And so the grant is broken up into 4 parts, of course, with the last being administrative costs. You'll definitely see in looking over the grant that it is very lengthy because we do have several programs as far as it relates to professional learning throughout our district. Overall, we have $4 million, $34,152, and you can see that some of that money was allocated from roll forward of funds that were not necessarily used in the previous year, but was added to our funding for this year. And so throughout our grant in the area of focus, you will see amazing opportunities for our leaders and also our teachers and paraprofessionals as we are working to really build capacity and increase expertise with our staff and our faculty. So you will be able to see that throughout. I am very open to collaboration, as we have been a very collaborative team with professional leadership and learning and just improving practices. One of the things that is embedded here that I think that is very important to us to maintain the integrity of is our leadership pipelines, and so there is a significant amount of money that's dedicated to increasing the expertise of our leaders here in Marion County.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes. Board, are there any questions or comments for Ms. Hughes?
Yes.
Vice Chair Thrower.
Thank you, and thank you, Ms. Hughes, for bringing illumination to this. It's a great grant, and the fact that we're able to roll funds forward to dedicate them at the right times for the right reasons. I love the leadership pipeline, and we're starting to see the benefits of that. I'm thinking about one, Dr. Gullett, NISL. I've been hearing a lot about.
Yes.
Yes, I've been hearing a lot about NISL, and so if it's coming to my attention, then people are talking about it. And so I just wanted to thank you for sharing this, and also that our private schools do benefit, and so I expect that our charter schools do as well. And that's important because no matter where a child is, they deserve to get a great education in Marion County. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Thrower. Any additional comments for Ms. Hughes or any additional discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, Ms. Hughes. Item D21.3, may I have a motion to approve the special data share agreement with Renaissance Learning Incorporated?
So move.
Motion by Reverend Cummings.
Second.
Second by Dr. James. Dr. Gullett, do you have any additional information for this item?
I do. Thank you again, Madam Chair. So this item refers to the digital literacy library, and Ms. Deb Riedel is here to share some additional information for the board for the consideration of this item. So thank you.
Good evening, Ms. Riedel.
Good evening.
As you know, Accelerated Reader and Marion are two products that we purchased through Renaissance Learning, used to increase literacy in our schools by motivating, managing, and monitoring students' reading practice. The Accelerated Reader, or AR program, requires students to select and read a book based on their area of interest and reading level. After reading a book, students complete a quiz that assesses their vocabulary and comprehension of the book. Marion is a personalized digital library that gives students access to thousands of digital books. Students can search the entire library, but are presented with offerings based upon their reading level and personal interest survey.
Thank you, Ms. Riedel. Are there any questions for Ms. Riedel on this item? Vice Chair Thrower.
Thank you. I just have a quick need for clarification. On the Accelerated Reader, it was my understanding that schools got to choose whether or not they wanted to use that, and that came from a different funding source. Has that changed?
That is correct. It's not a district purchase, but schools can purchase it on their own.
Okay, but it's from the same company?
Correct.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions for Ms. Riedel on this item? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, Ms. Riedel. May I have a motion to request for proposal RFP 4008RC and resulting agreement with Evergreen Solutions LLC?
Motion to approve?
Motion by Vice Chair Thrower.
Second.
Second by Reverend Cummings. Dr. Gullett, you have additional item or information on this item.
Yes, thank you again. Madam Chair, members of the board, Ms. Morant is here from Human Resources, but I wanted to provide some context to this item. This request came about because of the changes with the minimum wage requirements. And so we needed to ensure that we found a way to do a very solid compensation study. So Ms. Morant can provide some additional details as to that request. Thank you.
Thank you, and good evening, Dr. Gullett, and good evening, Chair Campbell and school board members. I'm excited to bring to you all for approval an agreement with Evergreen Solutions LLC to conduct a much-awaited, complete, and comprehensive district-wide compensation study and analysis. Evergreen Solutions has provided services to organizations in 47 states. Some of the school districts that Evergreen has partnered with in the state of Florida include Broward County School District, Orange County School District, Hillsborough County School District, Miami-Dade County School District, Clay County Public Schools, the Board of Volusia County, and Florida Virtual School. The work plan will consist of, first, our project initiation with the kickoff intro meeting with staff and other key stakeholders, an evaluation of our current system. They'll then collect and review environmental data, evaluate and build a classification plan, develop strategic positioning recommendations, conduct solution analysis, develop and submit a draft and final reports, and finally, develop recommendation for compensation administration so we are able to then self-maintain it. The estimated timeline for this compensation study is 5 months after board approval and project initiation.
Thank you, Ms. Morant. Are there any questions for Ms. Morant on this item? Hearing none, any discussion, board? Vice Chair.
I always feel like when it's put up for discussion that we should discuss it a little bit. And actually, it's just kind of a few things that got my attention tonight. I was quickly looking up what the minimum wage was in 2009 because we were sort of discussing what things were like in 2009, a meeting or so ago. And the minimum wage in 2009 was $7.25 an hour. And that makes a big difference compared to 15. So I think that was pretty interesting. And also, it has been a really long time since we've had a comprehensive review. So I'll really be monitoring this and looking forward to the results. I appreciate you taking this on. It's going to be a lot of work.
Thank you.
Even though you're going to have help with the consultant in the end, you know, it's your baby.
We look forward to it.
Thank you, Vice Chair Thrower. Well said. I, too, am excited for the results. It's one of those hurry up and wait scenarios, so I know that it's taken a long time to get to where we are this evening with an opportunity to vote on this contract, but then once this moves on, then we're hoping 5 months. But we'll be looking forward to seeing the results and where we are. And at this point, we don't know where we are until we start asking the questions. So thank you so much for bringing this to us, Ms. Morant.
Yeah.
Any additional questions or comments on this? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion passes 4-0. May I have a motion to request for proposal RFP 3949RC and resulting agreement with ESS Southeast LLC for substitute teacher staffing services?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Vice Chair Thrower,
Second.
second by Reverend Cummings. Dr. Gullett, I'm assuming Ms. Morant is also going to speak to this item.
She will. Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the board, I wanted to, again, provide some foundation to this item. I know this is a big ticket item, and it signals another big change for Marion County Public Schools, but I think we all agree the critical need to have our classrooms staffed with high-quality instructors. And so we have to be really diligent in making sure that we've exhausted all opportunities to have the right people in the right places in front of our students. And so this item speaks to the staffing needs and also the cost associated. There's a story and information behind that number, the dollar amount, though Ms. Morant will provide some context to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm also excited to bring to you all for approval, as Dr. Gullett mentioned, an agreement with ESS Southeast LLC to provide and manage substitute teacher recruitment, training, and management. And I'm delighted to share that Mr. Dan McLaughlin, who is the Vice President of Business Development with ESS, has joined us also for tonight's school board meeting. ESS will recruit and screen, which includes background checks that follows our district guidelines. They will train, providing live on-site training, which can be customized specifically for MCPS. They will hire, evaluate, direct, and manage the entire substitute pool. They will handle the payroll, for the entire substitute pool, and they also have benefits that they're able to offer to all substitutes. And they also obviously will have to cover costs for liability, workers' comp, unemployment, ACA, and CARES Act compliance. And it's important to note that MCPS will maintain control of the requirements, standards, pay rates, substitute priority lists, et cetera, that we have in place or that we may want to enact. ESS simply carries out the vision of MCPS when it comes to our substitutes. ESS ability to offer weekly pay, benefits, substitute support, targeted recruiting, and training makes this partnership a win-win for MCPS and our subs. ESS serves 900-plus districts across 34 states. A few of the districts served in Florida include Duval County Public Schools, Pasco County Public Schools, the School District of Manatee County, Santa Rosa County District Schools, Alachua County Public Schools, Putnam County School District, Columbia County Schools, Sewanee County School District, Dixie District Schools, and most recently, Sumter County School District. Now, as Dr. Gullett mentioned, that initial price tag can be what seems as a bit of a sticker shock, but it's important to note that this cost represents not only the maximum amount, but it also includes direct payments to subs, plus the 29% markup that's charged by ESS. And that markup includes training, recruiting, benefits, payroll tax, and other like expenses that are incurred by ESS. And as Dr. Gullett was mentioning, the previous year, when we look at 22-23 year, the estimated cost or the total cost that we had related to sub and sub-related expenses was $4,728,096.25. So also to note about ESS, the district only pays for substitute teachers that are filled, and there are no monthly minimums, no startup costs, and no additional fees. ESS will hire a 3-person team that is exclusively dedicated to provide service to MCPS, and they will be located locally. Some of the services they will provide will be biweekly school visitation. Every school is visited twice a month. They will establish positive relationships with the school employees, such as the principal, the assistant principals, secretaries, while supporting each school's specific program needs. They will, of course, exercise appropriate judgment and addressing specific situations and the ability to respond with immediate, effective solutions and/or promptly notify district management. They will review and manage the employees with classroom visits and evaluation. And then also they will conduct a principal survey that they send out during the school year to gauge the success of the program and to ensure that they're meeting the goals and the specific needs of the school. As I'm sure you can tell from the excitement in my voice and all the information I'm sharing, my team and I are extremely excited about this partnership, and we're hopeful and look forward to your approval tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Morant. Are there any questions? Yes, Dr. James?
So to clarify, the $5 million price tag is an estimate and
Correct.
would take the place of the $4 million and change price tag that we incurred last year.
That is correct.
Okay, so essentially, we're looking at very similar costs for this item, but we're subcontracting or outsourcing it to a third party.
Correct, with increased benefits.
Yes, and now a substitute will be able to get benefits, whereas
Correct.
currently they are not able to get benefits.
That is correct. And specialized training, incentives, yes, that's correct.
My question is, if I am a substitute sitting in a permanent substitute role today, and so presumably I'm teaching in a classroom all year, that's the job I'm holding. What will happen, I'm sure I know the answer, but can you just articulate, when they come on board, can you explain how I'm gonna go from bi-weekly pay to weekly pay? How I'm gonna go, who I report to, does that change? What are those kinds of things for our existing pool of individuals who are working with us every day look like?
Sure. So first, I do want to separate our two classifications of subs. So our subs that are based and assigned to a school, that remains, that's not touched. We're talking specifically about our daily subs. Mm-hmm. So what will happen, we will have a kickoff meeting where hopefully we will start that next week or the week after, and we will specifically discuss what that transition looks like. And our plan is to send out notice to our subs. Obviously, we couldn't do anything prior to today's meeting. So they will have an onboarding process because they will be employees of ESS. So they will go through their new hire session and everything that entails. But some of the information that we already have, like background check, drug screenings, that will carry over. But again, we have to actually talk through with payroll, with ESD, and what that looks like. So we will still use the frontline system because ESS, they are going to assume the rest of our contract that we have with frontline. So they'll take that over and pay for that. And so the subs, they will continue seeing that. Our schools will continue to be able to use frontline. And as far as reporting, so our schools still, and our principals, our administrators that are on campus, they still are in charge of their school. They still have the final say of who can work on their campus, who cannot. Just the same way we may have the subs there, we clear them. But if it's a sub they don't want on their campus, that's fine. If it's a sub they want to specifically request, that's fine. But our subs, our daily subs, will be employees of ESS. So they will work with us as far as discipline, termination, and if we just don't want anyone back. So they will work with us closely with that.
Okay, just one more point of clarification. There are classroom subs that are on school staffing plans that are the in-house substitute.
Correct.
There are also subs that come to a campus and spend a significant period of time there that are not on that staffing plan.
Correct.
So I would just offer very clearly articulating to the staffs, because sometimes it can be confusing, because if they are showing up to work every single day on a campus, they believe that they're a part of that staffing plan. So I would just offer, if it's possible, to really clearly articulate where individuals fall, because this is truly going to be a benefit for being able to get benefits. I think it's going to be very significant. So I look forward, I think this is going to be good for our district and hopefully will help fill some of the absenteeism that we experience. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. James. Reverend Cummings?
Actually, Ms. Moran actually answered the question that I was going to ask, because I was just going to make sure that we clarify that these subs are not employees of MCPS. They are employees of what is it,
ESS.
ESS Southeast, because sometimes people will think that they are our employees when they are contract employees. So you answered it. Thank you.
Vice Chair, do you have any questions?
Not a particular question, thank you, but just a comment that there is a lot to be excited about with this. And as I glance at the two young ladies to my left, it makes me wonder, during your time in school, especially over the past few years, have there been times where there hasn't been a sub and classes have had to be combined? And I see you nodding.
Yes. So the school I go to Westport, and one of the largest things that they tend to do is if they don't have a substitute, they send us to what's called the PAC, which is essentially our auditorium. It's the Performing Arts Center. And during that period, we just sit. There's not a lot of service at my school, and whenever we're in the PAC, there's not enough Chromebook carts for us to do any work, so a lot of the time, students will just sit in the PAC, in the auditorium, not really doing much. People will try to even skip, and one of the biggest problems that we face is that if students are aware that certain class periods do not have a substitute, a lot of them will try to stay in there all day because you can just do whatever you like instead, and as well as they try to come up with excuses for why they're in there if it's not their teacher or if it's not their class. So it's just a lot of kids in one big area, only really supervised by a handful of adults that can be there whenever we do not have a substitute. Because we don't have enough room, at least at my school, to combine classrooms, because as I've mentioned before, a lot of our classrooms are almost entirely packed, so there's not a lot of opportunity for that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer?
My concern lies more in students not having enough respect for substitutes, I would say, because there are some days that, like, the teacher would leave, but they would leave work, and students don't see substitutes as, like, a teacher. They just kind of, oh, that's mine, like, they're there. They're not going to, like, say anything. And we only have a certain amount of days in a school year, and considering classes such as AP, IB, or ACE, every day counts, and I'm just interested to see how the training or the different plans on substitutes will lead them to have more, like, importance in the classroom and more respect from the students. So those more advanced courses and normal courses, because there's not enough days in the school year, you know, you can't learn everything, you just kind of have to learn enough, but just to have enough respect so students can use their days properly, and the students can the substitutes can have the respect that they deserve.
I agree, and one great thing, one of the training, it does include classroom management, and I am happy to have Mr. McLaughlin here so he can hear the concerns firsthand, because as I mentioned, the 3 employees that we have, that they're going to hire, are going to be specific to MCPS, so they can tailor the training, the evaluations, the follow-up directly to our needs. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yes, thank you, ladies, for your transparency and honesty. That's why you're here. Any other comments, board, before we vote on this item? Yes, go ahead.
So similar to Genesis with the concern of how it might prepare them, because you mentioned it was daily subbing, correct, where they're only playing them for the day. So I have the same concern, I suppose, even though we're leaving the school this year in terms of AP, dual enrollment, that sort of thing. Whenever I have had substitutes or even for certain elective hours, I just want to ask specifically what the training might cover aside from classroom management to sort of adjust to the environment that they're in, considering that you may walk in and not know what you're getting that day, or it could be a vast group of students. For me, at my school, we're a really big performing arts school, so we have a lot of arts elective periods, and I know that that can be a lot to manage and even walk into, and it can be very frightening because, at least for me, like rock band's a great example. We're kids running the different studios, trying to play different music, and whenever we have substitutes, I can tell that they're a little bit overwhelmed, so I'm just curious how that training might help them with that.
Chair Campbell, do you mind if I allow Mr. McLaughlin to respond?
Sure.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Superintendent Gullett, junior board members. Very insightful comments and questions, so thank you for that. So when we conduct the training, it's a live on-site training done here at the district, so every substitute has to go through the training program before they're ever able to enter a classroom. And part of that training is, well, when we identify a trainer for the district, we'll actually ask the district, do you have any recent school administrators, former teachers, district administrators that exhibited good classroom management? And we'll hire them as our trainer for the district. So they have a full insight of all the locations, all the different schools, and what the needs are in those particular schools as well, because it really is all about fit and finding that right fit and supporting the substitutes, because you may have a substitute that's better with the younger kids, and so we're going to try to gear them to the elementary schools. And you may have some substitutes that are better for the older kids, and we're going to try to put them in with the high school. So it's really, during that training class, it's very interactive. Classroom management, do's and don'ts in the classroom, all that type of things. But what we're really trying to do is identify the fit and where those substitutes are going to be most successful, so they can really enhance student achievement and make a positive impact in the classroom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Any additional comments, questions, or discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion passes 4-0. I know you're excited about both of your items, Ms. Morant. Thank you so much. Before addressing items D21.6 and D21.7, I need to recognize Attorney Jeremy Powers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The final two items tonight, 21.6 and 21.7, are student discipline matters, and I would request that we conduct those off air. Those will only take about 5 to 7 minutes.
Okay. With that, I guess we can go into a brief recess, or we need to do them at the end of the meeting?
These are the final two.
Before we go into board member comments, yes.
Yeah, I would, we can do it at the end of the meeting after board member comments or before. That's the chair's discretion.
Okay, let's go ahead and go into board member comments then. So items D21.6 and D21.7 will be handled off air. Briefly, I believe that's the way we'll handle those, because I think those are both student disciplinary confidential matters. Okay, thank you very much. With that, I will note that there will be a special board meeting on Thursday, September 21st, 2023 at 8:30 a.m. We will also have an administrative briefing and work session scheduled for the same day, September 21st, 2023 at 9:00 a.m. And with that, we'll move into committee reports and board member concerns. Mr. Davis, is there anything from the board clerk's office this evening?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Attorney Powers, anything else from legal?
Nothing from legal, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Gullett?
Good evening again, Madam Chair. Yes, just a few brief items, Board. First, I want to say, Genesis and Caitlin, thank you again for your voice. It's a pleasure to sit alongside of you. Board, you should have received, I believe, an email from your board clerk about a couple of days with requests for new construction facilities meetings, special board meetings. I can say that November 27th, 9 a.m. Was one of them. We had December 19th at 9 a.m., but that one will not work because the MTI auditorium is not available because of the graduation the night before, and there's not sufficient time for the team to do setup. So alternatively, it could be the 20th or the 21st, which I know is the beginning of winter break. January does not seem to work. So if not, we will just keep it at the meetings that we have, but I'm open for some conversation around that item.
Thank you. Board, I know we had this conversation today. I know I will not be available on the 20th or the 21st, but if there are 3 of you that will be, and we obviously don't have Ms. Conrad here this evening, but if 3 of you know that you would be available on either one of those dates, then they can move forward with scheduling. The final day of, right now, the final day of students' time in school is on December 19th. And then obviously weather makeup days are the 20th and 21st, should we need those. Hopefully we're not going to need those for students. So I didn't know about the board, if you would all.
I'll be available.
I'm available.
Yeah, if we could do the morning of the 20th, just to get it out of the way, that would be best. And if the 3 of us can be available, then.
Yep. Terrific. So you have 3 board members that are available on the 20th in the morning, and so you can move forward with.
Wonderful. Can I confirm then that November 27th works as well at 9 a.m.?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Final item, as I know, Board Member Cummings, you brought up a topic previously about construction delivery options and to bring that to an upcoming work session. We have done a little bit of research and we would like to postpone that as we look at other options on another day. There are different companies offering that, and the presentation did include one of the options that would be a company that might be considered in the future. So if we could, my team could consider some other options and bring some of the perhaps speakers to the board that could provide some context to what it looks like and how the process could work. We're in the process of trying to investigate that.
Okay. As long as we get it, I just want to make sure that we get it sooner than later.
Right.
Yes, we will. And we're just being very mindful of not having presenters that might be considered for future projects. We want to be fair and equitable in those who are going to be presenting. Working with Attorney Powers as well, we've had some conversation today and looking at other districts and just trying to find some expertise in what this looks like legally and otherwise, so that I can tell you that I'm very interested in bringing that topic to the board for conversation, but we want to make sure that we do our due diligence to do it correctly, if that's okay with the board?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gullett. And we had just mentioned last week that we might want it on the September 21st work session, and so I asked Dr. Gullett if she could just address that this evening, because it might even be that we actually have a school board attorney from another district or someone like that that comes and presents the options, as opposed to actually a vendor that we might consider at a later time. So unfortunately, the other board members that weren't at the session that Reverend Cummings and I were at have been unable to see that, but you will soon, because we're going to have the information presented potentially in November or so, something like that's what we discussed today.
Thank you. I have no further items. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Dr. James, good evening.
Good evening. I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge Lindsay Barber and her team and the great work they're doing. I loved seeing 2 North End schools recognized tonight. That always warms my heart. I've had an opportunity to visit a bunch of schools over the last 2 weeks and walk campuses and just take time to see how it's all going. And I know that we often don't talk about the growth on the north end or north of 35th Street, but we do have schools that are busting at the seams. We're bringing a portable to Spar Elementary. So good things. People are moving to Spar, y'all. So just so you know, we are booming. So it's important to remember that growth is happening all over Marion County. It is not just happening in our southwest corner, and I'm going to be the fiercest advocate for continuing to reiterate that growth is happening all over. I was at Reddick Collier Elementary today, and I was standing with Mr. Manning, and we were just looking at the property and talking about lots of things, and he made the remark, he said, I come out here sometimes and just stand and look at the beauty, because it is just so beautiful out there, and to be able to just take a deep breath and look out onto the beautifully manicured field. He has had people out from facilities working on the front entrance, and it looks beautiful out there, and just to take a deep breath of just fresh air, and it's really beautiful out there. So we're doing a lot of great work, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to have services come in to help with substitutes. I grew up in Orange County, as I've mentioned before, and we always had a service there, and it seemed so much more seamless, and I've always wondered why we made it more difficult than it needed to be in Marion County, and I think this is going to be a way to really help streamline the process and help our secretaries. Many people don't understand that confidential secretaries are the ones at schools who are answering the phone at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning when a teacher calls out and figuring out what's going to happen. They are the people that carry that load on our campuses, and services like this are going to help match with the use of technology, so that confidential secretary isn't calling people basically on a Rolodex on her phone trying to find someone to cover for that day. So I'm really excited that we are continuing to do innovative things in this district to do what's best for kids and help every student succeed. So that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Dr. James. Genesis.
I just actually wanted to reference the beginning of the meeting where we talked about the social studies teachers of the year. I just wanted to say that I'm really glad you guys are acknowledging social studies, because I feel like in school it's kind of underrated and it's not seen like as a core subject, but I actually have a huge passion for social studies, and I think that if it's done right by the right teachers, it can really spark a passion in other students as well. And I want to thank my high school teachers at Bellevue, because learning social studies through them not only allowed me to learn about like the past of America and the world, but also how we can improve in the future. And it also helped me with English, math. It talks about every other subject, and I just really, I really like seeing that, and I love when we give praise to teachers, because they really deserve it. So thank you.
Thank you, Genesis. Reverend Cummings.
Good evening. Again, to Ms. Barber, I really appreciate the presentation from Ms. Barber. Social studies was probably one of my favorite courses, because it did expand your horizons and how you think about the world and where you are. So I appreciate that. It's great to see that. Tonight we approved some high dollar items on the agenda. Oftentimes our community may not see all those things or may not pay attention to them, but I want them to know that those high dollar items that we approved were for the success of our district. Our superintendent and her team has brought forth these things because we feel that those are the right investments for Marion County to help our students succeed. And every one of those high dollar items are needful in our district. So I want to thank the superintendent for making sure that we're doing our due diligence in getting these things coming forth to us. And then these items are going to help us be that district that we keep stating that we're going to be. So I appreciate that, and thank you. No other comments.
Thank you. Caitlin.
Yes. So similar to Genesis, I believe it's important to praise teachers all across for all subjects, but especially history as well. I am slightly guilty of, I'm like more of a STEM-natured person, so I've kind of always had an aversion to history, but I've had some of the most amazing history teachers within my high school years from Westport under both AP, dual enrollment, and honors, and as well as I'm very lucky that one of my advisors here today, Ms. Neal, she is a former studies teacher, social studies teacher of world history and world history honors. I know how much work and dedication she had put into it, and it can be entirely overwhelming to teach students about the entire world or even just a period of history, because you can learn not only so much about the basis of our country, but all across the world and different customs. So I think that it's super important to draw attention to that. So I wanted to say thank you for acknowledging such wonderful teachers. And the second point I wanted to bring up was just addressing the parent that spoke tonight, Miss Jamie. I don't know her last name and I don't want to butcher it, but I wanted to say that every student deserves an opportunity regarding their educational path, no matter their academic standing. And to me, every student marks as a leader that's going to eventually take over in some form of role that's important to contributing to our society and different people's lives. And I think it's entirely important to provide the necessities for these students to succeed. So I really hope that she and her family receive the educational needs that they require, and that her student can continue being a part of Marion County Public Schools, because I know, at least for my educational journey, I'm very glad that I've stayed in this schooling system, and it upsets me to hear that students are not having the same experience. So I hope that there is support that will be provided for her and her family. So thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Very well said. Vice Chair Thrower.
Thank you. And yes, a great, inspiring teacher is clearly where the rubber meets the road. And I could have talked about the new substitute program much longer tonight. I think back on my educational experience. I think back on my experience as a teacher and how important, and our junior board member said it best, there's only 180 days in the school year, and I thought, yeah, we think alike. Every minute counts, and when kids are disrespecting a substitute, and the substitute could be better prepared, then that's just a complete waste of a class period. And I'm very grateful to Deb Riedel and her team for the lesson plan dashboard that has been rolled out this year, for acknowledging that, yes, we have a recruitment issue, so we're going to do all we can to support and inspire anyone that is willing to help us publicly educate children so that when they graduate, they're going to be, ready. So that really means a lot to me to have conversations like this tonight, because it truly is where the rubber meets the road. We have to make learning relevant, we have to make learning important, and we have to make learning urgent. And that reduces a lot of behavior issues. And it troubles me that right now, we're still pushing the rock up the mountain, and we have a lot of plans in place to continue to address this, just like what I've heard tonight. We have students that are excelling athletically as well as academically. Not only are they academic champions, they're athletic champions. I was just at the SAC meeting at Vanguard High School last night, heard some great data and information. Their history scores are above the district average. They're second in the district. That's something to be proud of, but still 1 point lower than pre-COVID. So, call it an excuse, call it a reason, call it or whatever, but something clearly happened these last few years. And in spite of the acceleration, in spite of the dual enrollment opportunities, in spite of the record numbers of students getting their industry certifications and passing those exams, in spite of being able to earn a college credit instead of English 4, it's ACE General Paper now. And so every student can leave Marion County Public Schools already with 1 college credit. I mean, every little bit helps. And despite all of this, we're still looking at 30% chronic absenteeism at a school. And this is not uncommon. We've been talking about other schools, elementary schools, that are experiencing the same problem. And so I am glad that we are having these core important conversations that bring the community into it, that help everyone understand the challenge. Because once you know the challenge, and then once you begin to know the students, you're like, oh yeah, challenge accepted. We are going to do this, and we are going to just be great. So I appreciate tonight's conversation. I always appreciate Lindsay Barber having the opportunity to celebrate Patriots Day, acknowledging the horrors of 9/11. If that doesn't bring history to life, I don't know what would. There's a lot of dedication and a lot of passion, and I'm looking forward to just seeing all of that continue. And we are going to have the opportunity, I know, to really blossom and see the results of just clear, hard work. So that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Vice Chair Thrower. I'll wrap up our comments this evening. I have just a few things. First of all, from a housekeeping perspective, Board, this evening we received an email from Ms. Riedel about textbook adoption committee recommendations, and I wanted to make this as a public announcement because there may be some folks out there listening that want to contact one of us as board members to see if you would be willing to serve on the textbook adoption review committees. And this committee will be reviewing social studies textbooks for kindergarten, first and second grade, third, fourth, and fifth grade, and also accelerated mathematics for third grade, fourth grade, and sixth grade. So those are 3 separate community members that each one of us will need to assign. And so if anyone listening is interested in potentially serving in one of those roles, please let us know and contact us individually. I continue to be grateful for our student board members, and your insightful and thoughtful comments and your engagement with the process of what we're trying to do to improve Marion County Public Schools. And it's just valuable. And so I continue to be so grateful for both of you. And thank you for mentioning your own social studies experiences. I too was one who was passionate about social studies because of a great social studies teacher in high school, went on to get a political science minor and a political communication master's and all the things. And here I sit. So you very well may be sitting in an elected position more than just a chosen position one day yourself. But the amazing educators that Ms. Barber brought before us this evening, I would be remiss if I didn't specifically point out Pamela Ernest. I've known Ms. Ernest for many, many, many years, and my children competed against her teams in math counts for many years, and she continues to be, while she's not the mathematician, she brings in the right people to make sure that those students are the best prepared math students that any math counts team in this county has ever seen. So social studies is her expertise, but she puts in effort definitely with math counts and others, as do the other teachers that we heard from tonight. So it does take great teachers doing great things to help students achieve great things. This past weekend, we had the Marion Technical College groundbreaking, which was an amazing opportunity where we had the chance to say a special thank you to Senator Perry and to Representative McLean on the sponsoring of the appropriation request that we so gratefully are receiving from the legislature this past session. We also yesterday attended the 9/11 ceremony, or I had the opportunity at Forest High School, and others were there as well. Always a wonderful celebration and time of remembrance, and the narration that occurs, and the canto cats that sing the national anthem, and the rotunda, and all the ROTC efforts, just everything that's put into that with the wreath laying with the principal. And the narrator said for us all to cherish the time that we have with our loved ones and to go home and just remember and make sure that we don't forget. And so that's exactly what I did last evening. So I hope that you all had the opportunity to do that as well. Tomorrow is our legislative delegation meeting. So I know I just spoke about the legislature. This is one of those short times. So for those who don't follow along with state politics and state legislature, the session just ended and the governor just signed the budget in June, but they're already heading up for committee meetings in the month of September because of how the session runs. It's a short time span. So the board will be participating in tomorrow's legislative delegation meeting. And the last two things I wanted to mention, one of them has to do with that. So thank you again to Mr. Christian and his team, who always puts together our little pocket legislative agenda items. The one that I wanted to mention in particular on this is the strengthening the state language in the compulsory student attendance and parent accountability for such attendance. That's statute 1003.24. Vice Chair Thrower, this has been something that she has championed for years, and we are pushing forward and continuing to carry this torch with her as well. In any given day in Marion County Public Schools, anywhere from 7 to 10% of our students are not present. I'm going to say that again. We get attendance reports every single day. And in any given day in Marion County Public Schools, among all of our programs, including charter schools and our Acceleration Academy and all the different programs that we have, within any given day, there are between 7 and 10% of students that are not present. We cannot teach if we don't have them here. This is a community effort. We need to ensure that I know this is a district effort. This month of September is devoted to attendance and how much it matters. I heard Dr. Gollett speak today at the United Way meeting talking about attendance and the value that the entire community needs to have on attendance. If you are out at 10 a.m. in Publix or any other store that you might frequent, or seeing children in a drive-through line or in a fast food restaurant, please just ask those students where they go to school. It's possible they may be homeschooled. It's possible. But we need your help, community. If you see a family with children that are school-aged out in our community during a school day, just ask where they go to school. It'll be an opportunity to strike up a conversation. Again, they may be homeschooled. That's a wonderful conversation for you to have with them. But if they're not, and they say they attend a certain school, that opens the door for additional conversation to say, isn't today a school day? We have to have everyone start helping us because this is becoming a major chronic community issue. We need students in school so they can be educated. And as I heard Dr. Gullett say today, that even 3 days of absence in an entire school year can impact a student's academic progress. There is data to back that up, studies, she could quote it for you right now because she did today, but there's data to say even 1 or 2 days of absences impact it, but once it hits that 3rd day, and that's in an entire school year, 3 days of absences can impact a student's academic trajectory. It's vitally important that we not only make this a community issue, but also have our legislators understand the value that we need to place at the state level on attendance, and that's something that your school board will be doing when we speak to our legislators tomorrow. The final thing I wanted to mention, I had an opportunity just before this meeting to speak to a group of professional women in our community, and one of the questions they asked was, what are we doing about attendance? So I was able to share with them some of what I just shared with you. But the other thing they asked me about was, what are we doing about the vacancies that we have? And I know that we are actively recruiting. I know we're doing lots of things with our human resources department that's doing things from a recruitment standpoint. But when I told them that starting teacher salary was right around $50,000 a year, and most teachers are not working in 2 months out of the year, there was at least one of those professional women that said, if I had known that, I may have considered coming and looking at teaching before I started the job I'm in right now. We have to do a better job of telling that story. There are dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of people in this community that might be sitting in jobs that they don't like, might be sitting in jobs that I believe that they potentially have the gift of teaching and don't even know it. And Ms. Moran and I, we've talked about that quite a bit. They may even have the gift of teaching. I believe it to be a spiritual gift, but they maybe have the gift of teaching and don't know it and don't know why they're not comfortable in the jobs they're in. If in fact those people are out there wondering, perhaps they could try teaching, perhaps they could start with substituting and see how they like it. But whenever they understand that their job that they're currently making $35,000 a year, they could come with a bachelor's degree and make almost $50,000 as a teacher, might be worth a try. Might be worth a try. It might just be the career that you've been always looking for. So that will conclude my comments for this evening. I believe the rest of the portion of our meeting this evening needs to be off air, according to Attorney Powers. So at this time, at 6:52 p.m., we will go into a brief recess, and the remainder of our meeting will be off air. Thank you so much for listening and for attending this evening. We certainly appreciate all that everyone in our community is going to do to help every student succeed. Thank you. Brief recess.